Just so thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. Again, my name is Ellie. I'm the executive director here at GVI, and we're so grateful to have you with us. We're going to work through a little agenda tonight for how you can support GVI and Reservoir Community Farm and our programming. And as we dig in and get into our presentation tonight, we're going to start with a little bit of an agenda. I will be introducing you to GVI if you're new to GVI, and we'd like to get to know you if you're new to us. So we're going to ask that while I do a little opening and share about GVI's mission and our programs and why we're here tonight, if you could, in the chat, if you feel comfortable and moved to please put your name, your pronouns, and the last food that you ate that made you go, And so we're going to ask everyone to type that in. There'll be space for our voices a little bit later. We just want to cover a lot of information tonight and get folks caught up, but we'll have space to talk and communicate and have questions and answers later. We're gonna then move into updates and important dates. So it's really important to us to come back to the history of why we're here, why this work is important to us, and what's occurred, so everyone has full information and is able to, get up to speed, no matter if you've been gardening with us for 10 years or you just learned about GVI yesterday. Then we're going to move into learning about a couple of ways that people can get involved if you want to be civically engaged in talking to City Council. There's a couple of ways to do it. Letter writing is a way that a lot of people are super comfortable with. I know I'm really comfortable with typing and writing letters to folks. So sometimes that's a preferred method. So we're going to talk about how you can do that. And then public speaking, which can be really powerful. There's a time before every City Council meeting called public comment. And it's an open space for neighbors to come and talk about anything that's kind of moving their hearts that they want their elected officials to do differently or maybe keep doing. And so we're going to get you ready for that as well if you feel so moved. And then we're going to have space kind of all throughout, but especially at the end for questions, concerns, and comments. So a reminder that as I tell you a little bit about GVI, if you could also, sorry, I'm just going to close this down. If you could share your name, your pronouns, and the last food that made you go, in the chat, that would be great. And thank you, Brianna and Pippa, for kicking us off. So GVI's mission, if you're new to GVI, is to grow food, knowledge, leadership, and community through urban gardening and farming to create a more just food system in Bridgeport. And some examples of beautiful ways in which that is done is you can see we have skill building all the way on the right with folks using power tools to cut out signs that we still hang on our sign today to advertise our farmers market and the way that we double SNAP dollars at our farmers market. In the middle, you can see Farmer Victoria, Farmer Cat, and Farmer Amberly selling food this summer safely and at below market prices in some cases, alongside Park City Harvest and Blissful Awakenings Farm up at Reservoir Community Farm under our little farm stand. And all the way on the left, you can see a volunteer group. Volunteers are our growing power, and our farm is an educational space where thousands of people have come to get their hands in the soil. There's nothing more exciting than when we're hosting our free field trips for little ones and they go from, ew, a worm, to at the end, like gently cradling them and holding them up to show their friends. So this is really a space and a picture that displays how community comes together around something as beautiful as digging up potatoes. There we are. And the why behind our mission is food justice. We believe that food justice is racial justice, and that your access and ability to grow, eat, harvest, sell, and enjoy healthy food should not be limited to whatever zip code that you grew up in or live in now, because there is such disparity and such a segregated series of foodways, especially in Fairfield County. This definition of food justice comes from Just Food. It's that communities exercising their right to grow, sell, and eat healthy food is food justice, and that a definition of healthy food is fresh, nutritious, affordable, culturally appropriate, and grown locally with care for well-being of the land, workers, and animals. And if there's any terms within that definition that you're like, I've never heard of that before, please throw it in the chat, because there's a lot of cool GVIers and cool farmers and cool community gardeners and friends who are on the Zoom tonight who could help share like how they think of each of these words and terms. And I think it's good to know that food justice, while this is the definition we use, you can have a completely different definition for what it means to you. That's kind of the beauty of food justice. Justice looks different and liberation looks different for all of us. And it's about bringing it together and doing it together. And the way that GVI does is through urban farming and gardening. And thank you everybody for putting your names, pronouns, and the last food that made you go in the chat. I can see the chat going off, so everybody get in there. I'm going to keep moving forward with the presentation, but feel free to talk to each other. So the 4 ways in which we seek to achieve our mission of food justice in Bridgeport is through our 4 programs. Up at the top, you can see our youth leadership program. We educate youth on our farm, and they educate us, honestly, through our youth leadership summer crew. We also have year-round academic youth programs as well to create future leaders in food justice. We have 23 school gardens at 23 public schools here in Bridgeport, as well as lots of online lesson plans that help teachers connect common core curriculum into school gardens and in different subjects and grade levels. We have our community gardens. We have 12 of them located across Bridgeport that each have a completely different energy and a completely different set of gardeners and exciting different crops that they grow all throughout the city, which is really great. And you can find a map of those on our website. And then last but not least is Reservoir Community Farm, which is really the hub site that brings all of these different programs and all of these gardeners and all of our community together. The presentation tonight, as you can tell, is in English. And I mentioned before that we have a huge diversity of learners and speakers in our gardens, but we do have a Spanish version of our presentation available. Brianna, if you could throw that in the chat if you get a chance. We have an open link, and that's going to be available on our website as well. So if you search Green Village Initiative Community Rooting, it'll come up, and you should be able to get access to this presentation as well as the Spanish one tonight. Okay. Moving forward. So now to root us, pun intended. I wanted to, for any folks who haven't been to our farm recently, or are just feeling like, even though it was sunny today, I'm not feeling super connected to farming. I like to have some pictures to really remind us of like the presence and the energy of this land. I feel so much gratitude for folks, especially like Shania and Diane, who shared with me recently about how it's just a space that helps them feel a lot of peace and serenity to be outside and be able to see pollinators flying by. And even though there's a lot of traffic in our city, this is a place where it can sometimes feel a lot quieter, but also it's really joyous, as you can see with all these pictures of different years of our youth crew, different years of volunteers, and different years of our team coming together and celebrating. The one on the lower left was like maybe one of the only pictures. It's like one of like 5 pictures we took with our masks off this year, but this is when we painted our garden beds in June. So to get us started, I'm going to be talking for a little bit, but leave some space for Q&A. But I want to get everyone caught up on where we've been, why we're here tonight to talk about leases in the first place. So to review, GVI had a lease for Reservoir Community Farm, and it's ending in March of this year. And we've had difficulty renewing it easily and getting it extended easily as we had in the past. We've been there for 10 years doing farming and education on a site that was previously a parking lot that had been vacant for quite some time. The land that we occupy is traditional indigenous land of the Paugussett Golden Hill tribe. And that's important to name because all of the land in Bridgeport is stolen land and occupied land. Reservoir Community Farm operates on this land that is now city owned in name, as I said. And so that means that City Council, who are our elected leadership, We each have, if you're living in Bridgeport, have a district that has leadership that you elected, and they have control over all city lots, including the farm. In 2020, we were told that a library would be built on our farm site at 1469 Reservoir Avenue, and this was really surprising for us because up until that point, there hadn't been communication about that, and it kind of came out of the blue. So in 2020, we were like, okay, let's find out if the farm has run its course, if perhaps our neighborhood actually really does want a library instead, and that would be a more useful application of the land, because while we love farming and gardening, it's not on us to tell our community what they want and what they need. So we did a survey of over 200 neighbors within a half mile of the farm, going door to door, surveys in English and Spanish. And we were told that folks both needed and appreciated Reservoir Community Farm, with 56% of respondents saying that they used it, which is pretty cool. They used our programming. So based on that feedback and making sure that we were on the right track, in 2021, we decided to build a really positive relationship with the library to ensure that if they do decide to build on this site, that we would have a chance of being able to stay alongside of them in some capacity. So the current lease that we were able to secure has development rights built into it, so that if the library wants to, they can come build on the land, and GVI will evacuate part of the land. But the goal from our relationship with the library and what we've talked about is that if the library does decide to build at 1469 Reservoir Avenue, that they would like us to also stay, and we could like cohabitate together, which could be cool. And that's a really neat opportunity for green libraries, for connecting literacy and farming together, for thinking creatively about future jobs. And I think that there's just a lot that could come from a relationship and partnership like that. But that can't come to pass if we don't have the farm to share. So this week, what was great is that we started the first step of moving the lease through the process. It's a long process, so we'll get a little bit more into those dates, but the first step is that the lease was moved to a joint committee, which there's the city council, and then the city council is sort of like, if we think of it as like, I really should have thought of an example for this before I got onto a Zoom that's recorded, but essentially, like if they were like if they were a hockey team, so let's say the city council is a hockey team, you got your defense and your offense. Some people are more interested in playing certain roles than others. And these committees of the city council are kind of like what you're interested in doing more of. So there's committees for contracts, there's committees for like different services in the city, and city council members can sit on those committees in addition to being a city council member. So the joint committee that our lease is going to is the Contracts Committee and the Economic Development and Environment Committee. They're going to be coming together to talk about our lease and decide on it. So some important dates are listed here. So again, I'm not gonna lie and say this is not complicated. It's a little complicated, but if you'll allow me to talk a little bit more before we get into questions. The important dates that are coming up is that next Wednesday, we need people to submit their forms before 4 p.m. if you want to submit public comment to the city council. And public comment is important. That's what I mentioned before. It's your ability to go before the city council for a few minutes. They are there on Zoom listening to you, and you get to speak for 3 minutes about whatever you want to. In this case, we would love if you talk about the farm, but it's your time to really have the full attention of the city council. So that public hearing would happen on February 22nd at 6:30. At an unknown date that has not been set yet would be the joint committee meeting where they talk about the lease. And we would not be able to speak, but we would be able to attend and kind of have our eyes on the process and understand what's being said about the lease. And then on March 7th is the final vote. So I know like you might be scratching your head as I was, why can't they just hear us talk and then vote? But the way it works is that the city council will hear the public hearing about a subject and they have to vote at the next meeting. So it's transparent. It's happening in front of us, but it takes a little while. So as of February 9th today, I mentioned before they moved our lease to the joint committee. February 22nd, City Council hears public comment. And if you wish to speak, you have to sign up before the 16th, and February 7th is when the lease will be voted on. Okay, so those are our big updates. And I made a visual because this is what I do. So we're going to post this on our website as well. The green hearts are times when you can join us at 6:30, just like we are tonight. You can pop in and ask questions and talk with us about what's going on that week with the lease. The orange lines are the days that we can submit letters, which I'll be getting into a little bit more in a moment. We've got some circled dates for our community city council meetings. You'll notice that one is on a Tuesday and one is on a Monday. That's because the 21st is President's Day. So got moved to the 22nd. February is a wild month. And then the dashed and dotted lines are potential dates for the joint committee meeting. So we'll have this as a visual and keep it updated as we go. But essentially, we've got a couple weeks of stuff ahead of us, which is kind of exciting because it gives you a little bit of space to help us out. And it gives us a little bit of breathing room to try to influence our city council and make sure that they understand how important this space is to our community. Okay, and with that, I will open it up. Do we have any questions so far from folks on the call about the timeline and or any of the history I just talked about? I'll be sharing about how you can enter for public comment and how we can do letter writing in a moment. But for right now, if you have any questions about the timeline, let's talk about it.
Are all of the meetings virtual?
Excellent question. I don't know who asked it because my Zoom won't let me see, but thank you for asking. And yes, all of these meetings during COVID are virtual, which is good and bad. It's great because it makes it more accessible. We can join from the comfort of our homes, but it can be a little harder because it was really nice when our meetings were in person because they could see the crowd of folks that were there for a certain topic and you could have your signs. And at some city council meetings, I've even had the city council members ask, like, everybody who's here to support this thing, can you all stand up? And that's like really, one, physically very powerful, but two, just like really beautiful. So in this case, we can't put up signs. So the good and great Brianna, who's in our chat, has a really cool background you can download. So while you're sitting watching a meeting, you can show that you're supporting the farm. So I hope I answered your question and added some fun flavor and spice to it. But yes, all of these meetings are virtual.
So when it comes to letter writing, is it actually like a paper and pencil, like, or paper and pen, like writing, or is it emails, or what?
Yes, emails. So the way that, I mean, you could really do either if you want to, but the way that letter writing is most effective is if we can just make sure that the city councilors are getting it. And the way it goes into public record, which I'll talk about in a minute, we'll get back to that, is by sending it to their city emails. So if you guys have heard of FOIA, which is the Freedom of Information Act, every time you send an email to a city councilor, whether it's about the farm or about a broken water hydrant on your street or basically anything, if it goes into their city email account, it can be FOIA'd. And so that means that anybody can ask for records on it, which is cool. And we're going to talk a little bit about the most effective way to get those emails to the right people at the right time in a second. Any other questions?
What does the library say about what's going on and how this was kind of like sprung on you guys?
I'm sorry, I missed the first half of what you just said, Lindsay. It might have just been me, but you cut out.
No, I was just wondering, what does the library think about what's going on and how this was kind of like sprung on you guys?
Well, they've been really kind. I'll put it like the library board has been super kind, and ultimately they're in the business of literacy and getting as many libraries set up in the city as possible. So they're not going to say no to land, and I understand that. I think that they're working with us as effectively as they can given the circumstances, but because they didn't ask for this, we're both kind of being, it's like an arranged marriage. But arranged marriages like work out, and we're not going to get it. Okay, so they're great. Not that all arranged marriages work out, but what I'm saying is that it could be effective. It's an effective partnership, and we're making the best out of what we got. I'm going to stop.
Oh, I got it. I can't think of, I wanted to have an example of a story where it doesn't and a story where it does, but my mind is blank, but we get it.
Seems like unnecessarily rough ground to go on. I have a question. So like the city council meeting I've seen or been to, it seems like they block off the time for individual citizens to go on about their grievances. Would it be like more helpful or less helpful, I guess, to have a kind of blockade of people lobbying for GVI at once, or is it like, is
Good
that
question? Yeah. So we'll get a little bit more into like what it could look like to actually speak, but it is effective to fill up public comment with a really important thing that's on the agenda that night. So getting as many people signed up as possible is great, especially if they have direct experiences on the farm. That's even better. So I've been really grateful to, for instance, Farmer Sean, who sells on our farm. He agreed today to speak at City Council, and I'm really excited because he's got years of experience and he understands how the farm incubates small businesses and promotes Black farming. So I'm really excited for that. But if anybody else has questions about the timeline, we can actually start to get into some of those specifics in a second. Does anyone have any timeline questions about this calendar here?
when would they actually be putting through a final vote on your guys' lease?
Yes, so that's what March 7th is, where you see vote. So that's like really where the vote takes place. So the conversation, so essentially we're up on the agenda and can have public comment on the 22nd. The conversation about whether or not they're going to vote in favor or not happens in committee, basically. And then the whole city council votes on it on the 7th. So we can actually stack 2 public comments technically, but the 22nd is where I think it matters the most, because we can influence city council members who are going to be on these committee meetings together. Is that Scott Hughes? Scott, do you have a question? Hi.
Hi, how are you? I just wanted to follow up on the public comment part. It's very important that you live, vote, and pay taxes when you give public comment. I'm just throwing that out there.
So by that, Scott, what you're saying is people from Bridgeport, correct?
Live, vote, and pay taxes, because that's the language that the city council understands, and that's who they feel they're accountable to. So anyway, I just wanted to float that out there. So as many people as we can who live, vote, and pay taxes to speak on behalf of GVI, I think that's critical. So even if you pay car taxes, that will make a big statement. So,
Yes.
so I just think we need to really rally the troops, within those 3, ideally with those 3 characteristics. So.
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott,
Right,
for being here. No, thank you for bringing your experience to the table. And you're right, the people we want speaking are folks from Bridgeport. That's like a really important component that city council really listens to and respects, is when it's folks exactly like, that's what Scott means. He means live in Bridgeport and pay taxes in Bridgeport, and work in Bridgeport preferably as well. But even if you don't, that doesn't mean that you're not part of this, because I think unfortunately, while that is how city council leans, our farm touches a lot of people across the entire county and across the state. And in the case of Leslie McNulty being on this call tonight from Australia, across the globe, thank you, Leslie. And so you're not part of this just because you might not be in Bridgeport at this moment. We still want you to write letters, but when it comes to public comment, if you live, vote, and pay taxes in Bridgeport, please speak at public comment. It means so much. And it would be really, really valuable to have your voices there. And because we keep coming back to public comment, I'm going to move us forward into our next set of slides where we're first going to talk about letter writing. If you have questions, oh yes, and Brianna brought up, the city council typically has a cap of 10 public commenters, so it's best to get your request in soon. The form link is on our website. So yes, I agree. Thank you, Brianna. So letter writing, let's talk about it. Some important things to note before you get typing is that your letters become public record, which means, like I said before, they're completely accessible to the public. Don't write things in there about your personal secrets or anything that you wouldn't want other people to read. Your letter should be as clear as possible and to the point. And council members receive a lot of letters, so keeping it personal and using stories and pictures is important. You might be asking yourself, what can I actually put in this letter? Well, some ideas to include. I've included some pictures here of Justin and Craig harvesting callaloo and beans and some of our youth hugging it out in 2018. Because these are pictures that remind me of how our youth particularly have benefited. But specifically, if you can speak to how this farm has benefited your business, if you're a small business owner, if it's benefited your neighborhood because you live nearby and you've seen the neighborhood change in any way, or you really like being able to walk out of your front door and buy collards on a Saturday, like we want to have that story for city councilors to pick up and understand because they might not have visited before. The why and how it's changed you. So like, you know, I could talk all day about it, but I work for GVI. What's really more important is folks who don't work for GVI talking about how this farm has benefited you. Why having an educational farm, community garden, farmers market, and space for workshops and field trips matters to you and your community. That's very important. So the farm is offering a lot more than just a place for a community garden. We're doing a lot of programming on this site. And so why is that important to you? Even if you don't live right next to the farm, like why is this key? Does your kid come there? Have you had cool experiences there? Have you met new people? And the last piece is please, please, please include stories and pictures if you have them. I think that's really important, and it really stands out for our city council members, like to have those really specific kind of images in their minds. So how you write a letter is really simple. And I encourage you to do this, not just for this, if this is your first time writing a letter to city council, like I am so excited, but I hope that you keep doing it and that this is the first of many, because city council should be hearing from you. You are their constituents. But first of all, you're going to find your city council district. This is easy. All you have to do is Google Bridgeport council district map, and then you just get a map. It shows up on Google. You can see where you are. The farm itself is up in the 135th district, but if somebody wants to do the kindness of putting that link in the chat, like go for it, but it's super simple. Just Google it. You'll see a map of Bridgeport and then be like, oh, I live there. I guess I'm in the 132nd. Cool. I guess I'm in the 137th. So just take a second, look for that. And then you're going to write your letter. So we have a template for that available on our website on the community routing page that you clicked on to get here tonight. And you're going to email it to your council people. So you can just take that template, gussy it up with some pictures and stories, and you know what you really want to say, and then copy us at info@gogvi.org so we can keep tabs on it. And props if you can also send your letter to the council president. Her name is Heidi Nieves, and she's gonna be the president who's presiding over this meeting. So it's really good if you're sending your letters to a district member who or I'm sorry, a council member who maybe doesn't support the farm, if Heidi also sees it, she'll know that they got the letter. So that's great. So copying her is smart. Thank you for putting the district map in there. Woo, I hope everyone finds their district tonight. Okay, so this is our steps for letter writing. Do we have any questions about letter writing before I continue to public speaking?
I have a question. Where should people who don't live in Bridgeport send their letters to? I know we're trying to limit those letters, but
Don't limit, you can send them. It's not a limit. It's fine. We were just talking about public comment is more powerful for Bridgeport members, but write your letter, Alexis, and please send it. If you don't have a district, please send it to Council President Heidi Nieves. That'll be great. And also, if you own a small business, we're going to have a template for folks to send it to the joint committee as well. I'm wondering if we should do both. Probably more letters are better. So you'll be able to send it to the Council President, Heidi Nieves, and we're about to post an amazing template that our volunteer Alyssa made for us that has the chairs, or basically the leaders of these two committees that are coming together to talk about the lease. So we'll be posting that. You can send it to those 4 council members and President Heidi Nieves. So those will be the main folks to send it to if you don't have a district in Bridgeport. But if you do have a district in Bridgeport, it's just like great to find out who your city council members are anyway, and just like start chatting them up, and then you'll like know their name, they'll know you run into each other for coffee. It's gonna be great. I'm really excited to get all of you to know your city council members if you don't already. Good question though, Alexis. Any other questions?
Can other organizations like churches or schools or temples send in letters on behalf?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. We would love it from other organizations. And that's what we're going to have a little template for them. So we actually in the coming week, homework for GVIers who are on the call and haven't heard this from Ellie yet, but we're actually going to be reaching out to some of the schools that bring their field trips to our farm so they can talk. So having places of worship, other organizations that are doing work in Bridgeport talk about why having a farm is valuable. And like really making those links for our elected officials, I think is super valuable. Because for those of us who are already really passionate about urban ag, we're like, yeah, of course, like these things are all interconnected, faith and education and outdoor work and farming and food. But sometimes like making that super clear for your elected official is like a little step we need to connect. And that's okay. And that's good. We're all human. So yes, any other questions? Okay, I'm going to move forward to public comment, the hot ticket item of the night. So public speaking, I've included, I didn't ask to take it, so I hope it's okay. I took a picture, sorry, Alexis. I took a picture of the last city council Zoom that I was on earlier this week. And so as you can see, it's a regular Zoom and it's not that intimidating. It's just a Zoom room that's filled with your elected officials, and it's, you know, it just is what it is. So I totally understand being nervous. And if you're like, this is absolutely not for me, I understand. But if you're like, oh, I don't know if this is for me, I'm not sure, like maybe, but like, I don't know, then like, please do it because we could really use your help. So things to know before you speak that I just want to make really clear. As the same as tonight, it is recorded. So all city council meetings are recorded for public record. Your words will be part of the public record. So that's like pretty cool. You'll get to be on the agenda and be on there. And your address is listed on the city council agenda. So that's something that they actually list when you sign up. And this is getting back to Scott's point, really important that you're from Bridgeport because you get listed on there and they get to see who's from where. And so you have in this time frame that's allotted, each speaker gets 3 minutes to speak. So usually it's only 10 speakers. I have seen them take more than 10 speakers before if it's a hot button issue. But it's really important that people sign up soon if you're interested in speaking so we can take up those 10 spots or as many of them as possible pro farm. And we have 3 minutes to speak with a timer that will sound at the end of your 3 minutes. So if that part makes you nervous, do I have good news for you? I've spoken to city council a few times, so I can actually show you how much writing it goes on a page before it's 3 minutes. And there's no shame in stopping before 3 minutes are over. So, I can totally help you out. I'm here to coach, especially if you're like one of those folks that are on the edge and not sure. I would love to help. Just so you know, the nice thing about this is that it's sort of like, talking to a family member when they're watching TV and they don't want to hear you. It's not a conversation. So, not that they're, no, sorry, that was really bad. Okay, so they do want to hear you. They are listening. But I was just thinking about how it's like not a conversation when I talk at my sister and she's watching Desperate Housewives, but this is like separate. Okay, so they are listening to you, but they will not respond usually. So you're just making your public comment and then your timer sounds and the next person goes and they are listening to you. That's a bad analogy. And if you are hoping to speak on behalf of us, we ask that you keep it positive. So I'm not here to police what you're passionate about. And let's say you are passionate about police and policing in Bridgeport, I would be right there with you, but we really want to have these 3 minutes focus on this subject. So if you are feeling really passionate about other things, we invite you to definitely include that in a letter, or speak maybe about that a little bit, tie it in if you wish, but really trying to keep this as positive as possible for the benefit of the farm and getting the lease through. We totally understand there's like a lot of things to be upset about. There's a lot of injustices in our city and definitely in our state that city council and everybody should hear about. But just for this moment, we're asking to keep it kind of focused on our programming in the farm. So how do you do it? You were on the fence. Now you're ready to get off the fence and climb onto a Zoom. So what you're going to do is you can actually sign up by email. This is rad. We just found this out this week. It literally says at the bottom of the form that you can't do it by email. So we were like shook, but you can now email your form to city clerk at Bridgeport CT. And again, this is going to be on our website, but you can email it to the city clerk. You have to email a very specific form and include your name, email, and the date you'd like to speak. I'm so sorry that tea just like gave me a burp, but you're gonna include all of that and what you want to talk about. So you can just say like, I want to talk about Reservoir Community Farm, or like, I just want to talk about urban agriculture, whatever you want to talk about. But you have to do this very specific form and email it to the city clerk before 4 p.m. next Wednesday. That's the most important part. So this, I included this just to full transparency. This is what it looks like. So you have to make sure that you attach it at the bottom of your email. So if you don't see it attached at the bottom of your email or you're having problems, you can actually just reach out to me or Brianna and we will help you figure it out. And we just have, it's very simple. Like I just put all my information in here and attached my request and you just send it to the city clerk. So it's simple email, simple form. And I know it takes like 5 minutes that maybe you don't feel like you have in a day. So if you want help, we can help you, because you taking time to do any of this is like such a gift to us for the future of farming. So some tips on public speaking. Speak as yourself. You are the expert of your own experience. And I think it's really important that you don't try to talk like anyone else or be anyone else except for you. I think like that is usually what makes me really uncomfortable when I'm public speaking, is if I'm trying to be an Ellie that I'm not. So I encourage anyone who is going to public speak to just like bring who you are and what you want to say. And sharing your memories is really powerful, because people can feel when it's coming from a place of integrity and meaning for you. So talking about why this place is important is super valuable, especially if you live directly in the neighborhood. That is what's going to make the difference. And share what you want for the future. This can be about the farm or about food in general in the city. So if you're like, I want to have this farm continue in this space because I want to see more Black farmers so that we can have more of our bodegas selling fresh food grown by farmers who like live in my city, then like, hell yeah, that's what I want too. Like, let's tell our city council what we want. That would be great. If you want something different, you're like, I want this farm here so that we can have more field trips for little kids. I want them to hold worms. cool, but just make it from your own experience, like whatever it is that like really helps you gravitate to the farm and anchor in what you're saying. And again, here for coaching, love to help. I would absolutely love to help anybody practice because I do that with our youth and it's always really fun. Some other extra tips is write it down. I know that seems really basic, but it can, you can sometimes get caught up in the heat if you don't have something in front of you. So even tonight, I promise you tonight, I even have my own little notes for how to get through the slides. So like, yeah, do it. Say hello and introduce yourself. Share why you're here, why you're there. That's really key. Like saying I'm here because is like a really powerful starting component. Again, talk about your memories and dreams for the future. Wrapping it up with a thank you is important because taking while they are there to hear you out as your elected official, like I just think it's really great to show gratitude for the time that they're taking to receive public comment. And I like to practice a couple times to time how long it takes me so that I'm not like, oh, I have to like speak really fast to like get all my points across, which I've totally done before. And it just makes me like get like absolute onion sweats. So try to keep it on the shorter side so you don't have to be too stressed out. And we're going to be here next week. So if you sign up before 4 next Wednesday and you are on that docket to speak to City Council, and you're like ready to go, you can just come back here next week. I'll be chilling, you know, bring your tea, I'll bring mine, and we can practice together, and that'd be really fun. And even if you're not going to speak to City Council and you just want to listen in, I really encourage anybody to join. That'd be lovely. So now I've finished talking about public speaking. I can just reroute us. I'm gonna take us out of the presentation in a second so I can see everyone's faces. I've only seen like a couple on the side, so I'm really excited. So just to reroute, the important dates and next steps are on our community routing page on our website. So please consider writing a letter and signing up for public speaking, especially if you live in the neighborhood. Or if you're a Bridgeport voter and resident taxpayer, that's all the better. If you're feeling super moved and you're not from Bridgeport, that's also okay. Like I think like I totally hear Scott's point, but if you're feeling super moved, like just sign up. It's whatever. Let's do it. We're all community. And how can you check in with us? You can find us here every Wednesday for these Zooms. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Our phone number is there, and you can email us at info@gogvi.org. I love this picture. It's like just all the energy of urban farming and on Ridge Avenue. That was during a fall cleanup in 2019. And let's keep the conversation going. So we will be back here February 16th. So same link, same place. This is Delisha selling some veg at our farm stand. And thank you for coming out, everybody. So we'll have a nice Q&A session. I'm going to take us out of our presentation. Okay, cool. Hi. So any questions about public comment or, oh, Pippa, nice background. Pippa understood the assignment, got the background. Does anyone have any questions tonight about public comment, letter writing, general questions, thoughts and opinions about my earring? No, I'm kidding.
Hello, how do I sound with this microphone?
Maya, you sound great like you always sound. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I had a
Oh, Maya, you went away. I'm sorry. You sounded great for a second and now we can't hear you. Oh, you're a little staticky.
Okay, one moment. Just gonna take the headphones out.
Oh,
Alrighty.
now we can hear you. Wonderful.
And I'm also gonna change locations. Okay, so sorry guys.
There's not that much
Alrighty.
background noise. Maya, there's not that much background noise. You're good.
Oh, okay. So I'm part of a program called the Horizons program. I think you may know already, and I joined a little bit later, but I wanted to bring it up to my boss about having the children maybe have an input or a say, and I just wanted to know how that may work and how I can bring it up to her.
That would be awesome. Yeah, Maya, that'd be lovely. So there's a couple ways you could do it. You could have maybe all the kids write a letter together, which could be cool. Or you could potentially have them all come to public speaking on one screen. I don't know. But the way to bring it up to your boss to talk about this is if you want, you can just send her the community routing webpage we have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that she has about it. I think probably the most important component is that if these kiddos are under 18, I mean, they definitely, if they've been to the farm, have signed permission slips, but if they're under 18, they need their parents' approval. So that's something your boss is going to have to figure out, which might be a little challenging. But I'd be happy to walk her through it and create any forms or paperwork that she need to like move it forward.
Okay, thank you so much, Ellie.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Maya. It's great to see you tonight.
I have a question, Ellie, about public speaking.
Hey, what's up, Melissa? How's it going?
Great. So it's so crazy to me that they cap it at 10 people. I've never heard of that before. So how do you know who's going to get picked to speak when they've already reached 10? And kind of the intention behind my question is I think it would be really good to have a diversity of people speaking, like some property owners, some business owners, like in the community, like people of different genders, people of different backgrounds, to show that this is, you know, a really big community effort. But I guess it's kind of hard to coordinate and strategize when they're only allowing 10 people and you're not maybe sure who they are. So how does that work?
Yep. So they release who's speaking on the agenda, like I mentioned before, but that doesn't come out like right away. So it is first come, first serve, which, yeah. so getting those emails in real quick is great, which is why I was like on it, asking Farmer Sean, be like, hey, if you want to speak. But if you do sign up and you're over the cap of 10, and I'm really not sure how this works, so maybe Scott, you could provide some insight. We don't have any city councilors joining us tonight, but sometimes if it's over 10, they just let people keep speaking. I've been at public comments that have gone on for like over an hour before. So I'm not really sure what the rules are around that, and I will research that. I'm going to write it down, Alyssa. You always give me really good questions to research. I'm going to write it down, ask some city council members, get back to you guys next week.
Yeah, I think they'll allow for extra comment. The person who asked about horizons, it's important to get the parents to write letters. I was also thinking about the garden captains too. There should almost be a mandate that they show some support, each garden captain. So anyway.
Well, we've got Diane Chappelle right here, one of our community garden captains for Reservoir, so I'm very excited. But yeah, that's definitely something we're working on, Scott. We're doing a little campaign for letter writing. But yeah, it's hard to get people to want to do public speaking. It's not in everyone's wheelhouse. So I definitely feel what you're saying, Alyssa, that getting your group kind of stacked up can be a little difficult, but we're gonna try.
I just have a quick question.
Yes, Marcia.
It's just piggybacking off of the public speaking. Will they let you know in advance whether you're picked? They will. So like before next Wednesday, if we decided to send the email, they would let us know like before practicing our letter writing.
Yes. So I think your question is, will they let you know if you're one of those 10 people?
Yes.
Yes. So they email like right back. The city clerk's office is right on top of this, at least in my experience. So they'll usually email you right back and be like, yeah, you're on the agenda. Like, have a good night.
Okay, thank you.
And even if you didn't, just to put this out there, or if you wanted to speak twice, there's the 22nd, and then there's the 7th. So if you wanted to speak twice, there's always an opportunity if you don't get a chance on the 22nd. But the 22nd is really when we're trying to get people, because that's before the vote and before the joint committee meeting. All right, any other questions from folks tonight?
Hi, Ellie, it's Diane.
Hi, Diane, how are you?
Okay, of course, I'm gonna sign up to be on the meeting. And of course, as a garden captain, and the farm is in my backyard. So of course, I'd love to be on public speaking. I'm gonna need help though. So I will be reaching out to you. All right,
Absolutely, yes, I can help you out with getting the forms in and all of that. There's no problem with that, but I so appreciate you speaking, Diane. Thank you so
okay,
much.
all right.
Yay, thank you.
I'll help you too.
Hey, Scott, really?
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Scott's a real one. That's why you're on that's why you're on our advisory committee, Scott.
Oh, another thing that I thought about. There been petitions going around the city for people trying to get on the ballot for the Democratic Town Committee. So I think if you've signed their petition, I think that's a good talking point when they follow up with you, just to make sure you let them know that you're in support. And that's just for all of us across the city, because they've been going around in all 10 districts to get signatures to be on the ballot. So, so I just see that as a good opportunity as well.
Yes, I will not be able to do that in my role as a nonprofit member, because notes for everybody, we have to stay out of politics as a nonprofit. But that said, as an individual human who is a resident and has things that you are passionate about, whether it's the farm or it's funding for education or whatever, definitely engage in conversations. And if you want to learn more about what the DTC or Democratic Town Committee is that Scott was mentioning, I highly, highly recommend you check out the resources that are on Gen Now on their website. So that's Bridgeport Generation Now. They do incredible civic engagement and education work, as well as Faith Acts Education, which is another nonprofit. So both of them are here in Bridgeport. That's Generation Now and Faith Acts. That both put out like amazing guides for how to get civically engaged and understand how people get elected, who the people are who are trying to get elected, and learning a lot more. They're both doing the most amazing work, and that's where I've learned pretty much everything I know about local politics, besides being engaged with it, trying to like keep our farm in place. But thank you for that point, Scott, and bringing it home that it's a big system. It's a big ecosystem.
So when they knock on my door for my signature, can I bring it up?
If you're a resident that's concerned about this, then absolutely do that.
Oh,
Don't do it
absolutely.
in your role
Even
as
though I sit on the board of GVI?
So no, so you're not gonna, so don't bring it. Don't
mention GVI.
Well, you can mention GVI, but you're not doing this as a board member of GVI, you're doing this as a resident. It's two really separate things, and it's like kind of a tight line to walk, but you don't want to be doing any election of public officials or voting or anything as GVI. You can do it as Diane, but not as GVI. So GVI officially can't take an opinion or a stance on any political party member or election. Does that make sense, Diane?
Yes, it does.
Okay, cool. Because like it took me a while to figure out.
I think what I'm going to need help on is trying to put all my thoughts, my feelings about it in a 3-minute time frame.
Absolutely, and that's what we're here to help with. So I think that'll be cool. We can work on it together, and next Wednesday we can practice a little bit. So that'd be awesome. And I can send you some stuff that I've sent in the past and or read in the past. You can see about how long 3 minutes is. It's usually just one like single lined page plus a couple of lines on a second page. It's not a lot of words. And it goes by pretty fast. So I totally understand how you feel, Diane. We'll work on it. We're a team.
Okay.
And I'll help too.
Yes.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
Diane, it's almost like you're a superhero and you have 3 powers. You live, vote, and pay taxes in Bridgeport. It's simple language that is almost like kryptonite to the city council. You live, vote, and pay taxes in Bridgeport. Those are your superpowers. And, you know, I think that's gives you a lot of leverage, you know, when you're speaking in front of the city council. They can be a little, I mean, I've been to city council meetings in the past. They can be a little intimidating, somewhat dismissive, you know, whatever. But it's like you pay their bills, you know. So you can be very unapologetic, and you know, you're a community champion. You know, you're a garden captain. You know, you live, vote, and pay taxes in Bridgeport. You know, you're a champion for community, you know, and all things Bridgeport. So so you're like an action figure, so to speak. So I think you'll be, yeah, I think you'll have a strong, very strong statement to make. So anyway, but I'll help you, right?
All right, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
definitely be happy to help you. All right, and thanks for bringing this up too.
Yeah, thanks for being here, everybody. I really appreciate you all sticking with me. It's been an hour, so I want to see if anybody has any last questions or comments you want to bring up. Alicia, I saw you came on video, and I wanted to see if you had any questions. Or Eliana, what's up? How are you doing? It's nice to see you both.
Hey, good to see you too. Just offering to speak publicly if necessary, if you know, yeah, I would be down to do that.
That's
Y'all
so
have done
great.
some, or farm is such a, you know, centerpiece for, you know, youth being able to be themselves and explore all aspects of themselves. So I think it's extremely important that it remains.
I feel the same way. There's so much freedom in just the space and the way that teens can. It's like hard to put into words. This is what we were talking about, Diane, but it's like it's hard to put into words, like, because so much of it is about being there and like feeling it. And so I'm really excited to see what we come up with to kind of share that with City Council. Thank you so much, Alicia. I would love to have you speak. Thank you.
Of course. My pleasure, my pleasure.
Okay, any last comments, questions, thoughts before I start to light the appreciation fireworks for all of you being here tonight, because I'm so grateful. But any last comments or questions?
From the chat, when do letters need to be submitted by? Not public comment, but letters.
So that I'm not super clear on. I think we can submit up until the Friday before. So if we look at that calendar I had, where did the page go? If we look at that calendar that I had, we have the, I'm just going to go back to that slide right quick. The 22nd is our big public hearing, and I'm pretty sure letters can go in up until the Friday before. Let me just put this so you guys can see it again right quick. This is going to be on our website later. So never fear if you're like, what the heck? I can't see it. But I think that you can set it up until the Friday or Saturday before, but I'll be able to give more insight about that next week. I'm so sorry that I'm just like, I know some, but I don't know everything about timing and all of that. But my belief is you can submit a letter pretty close up until the public, up until the city council meeting, and the city council members will get it. So I kind of have here that days to send letters goes up until the 19th, which is the Saturday before, because the Tuesday following is a public comment. And then if we want to send more letters before the next city council meeting, when they're voting, we've got like a little bit more time for the week after.